few weeks ago, my family went to the Renaissance Festival, or Renfest for short, in Shakopee. And you know what? I love going to Renfest, including, but not limited to, the food, the beverages, dressing up, and many of the acts. It was hot the day that we went, and we got there when it opened at 9 a.m. By 2:30, my kids were done. They were hot and tired. I was hot and tired too. But more importantly, I was annoyed because I had a ticket for a free turkey leg, and I hadn't had a chance to get that turkey leg yet. But the lines to get the turkey legs were long, way too long to make the kids wait. So, grumbling about the fact that all I had to eat that day was 3 mini donuts, we walked back to the car. By the time I got there, I had calmed down a little bit, and I realized that, yet again, hangry me is not always the most pleasant person to be around. So our topic for these first 3 weeks of our Flourish theme is letting go of exhaustion, cultivating balance. Like Pastor Chad touched on last week, many of us wear our busyness like a badge of honor. And for some of us, it seems like nothing that we do is ever enough, either to ourselves or to others. Recently, in fact, I was told I needed to stop scrolling on my phone for an hour to find time to add another meeting to my plate. And I just chuckled ironically and said, sure, I'll get right on that, because I scroll on my phone so much. How many times have you found yourself neglecting basic self-care, like eating or sleeping, because you're weighed down by expectations and deadlines? Or because you get so engrossed in whatever it is that you are doing that you just forget until you're all of a sudden snapping at people over small trivial things and realize, maybe I should eat, maybe I should take a break. And that's when it is time to take that break. Get a snack, take a nap. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets of Baal with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, "So may the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life like the life of one of them by this time tomorrow." Then he was afraid. He got up and fled for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah. He left a servant there. But Elijah himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a solitary broom tree. He asked that he might die. "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my ancestors." Then he lay down under the broom tree and fell asleep. Suddenly an angel touched him and said to him, "Get up and eat." He looked, and there at his head was a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and drank and lay down again. The angel of the Lord came a second time, touched him, and said, "Get up and eat, otherwise the journey will be too much for you." He got up and ate and drank. Then he went in the strength of that food for 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. At that place he came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." Then the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Elisha as prophet in your place." In our focus text for today, the prophet Elijah is a little bit overwhelmed. So he's been feuding with Queen Jezebel and just killed 450 of her prophets. And Queen Jezebel is less than pleased and threatens to kill him. So Elijah flees for his life. He ends up sitting under a tree and essentially says, "God, I just want to die." Then he falls asleep. Elijah's been through some stuff, some traumatic stuff, and he's exhausted. He says he's no better than his ancestors. Now, I'm not going to defend his killing of the prophets of Baal. I do wonder if there's a heaviness of regret on his shoulders about it. With everything that's been placed on him, defending the faith from King Ahab and Queen Jezebel, from the prophets, from the naysayers, needing to flee for his own life, Elijah's tired, and he's over it all. He's traveled the distance without rest, and now the weight of all of it is on him. I would imagine that we've all been in a place where we are utterly exhausted, where things seem almost insurmountable because we're so tired that we can't think straight. A lack of sleep leads to making poor choices. It keeps us from properly focusing, learning, and reacting. It makes it difficult to judge other people's emotions and reactions, and we get frustrated and cranky easier. And after 3 nights or so of no sleep, we start becoming paranoid, anxious, and have delusional thinking. So a lack of sleep is no joke. Now back to Elijah, he's getting some sleep. He's fallen asleep and he wakes up twice and is fed by an angel. So let's talk about food. Now I mentioned before that I get hangry. If I'm overly cranky in any given day, my husband's first question to me is, "When was the last time you ate?" Because I'm notorious for working through lunch and forgetting to eat. Food helps nourish and sustain us. Not having food causes moodiness, sleep disturbances, fatigue, and even some anxiety and depression. In the words of a famous Snickers commercial, "You aren't you when you're hungry." Food is a big deal. You know, how often have we read biblical stories that center around a meal, especially with Jesus? It's interesting how interconnected sleep and eating are, how they're vital to our overall health. It's no different for Elijah. He begins the reading saying that he just wants to die. And after some sleep and some food, life doesn't seem quite as bleak for him. And he travels 40 days and nights to Horeb, the same place that Moses received the 10 Commandments. Now, here's the thing, he's still in a dark place. He's still like, "God, I've been zealous for you. I've done what you want me to do, and I'm the only faithful one left, and they're trying to kill me for it." But he's in a better place to hear God than he was before. It's really difficult to hear or understand anyone speaking to us when we're exhausted and hungry. I don't know about you, but I've had times where I've actually said, "I'm sorry, I can't talk about this right now because I need some food and sleep before we can have this conversation." Elijah may not have articulated it in this way, but it's kind of what he needed, what he meant. And God knew what Elijah needed. God knows what we all need. God sent an angel to feed Elijah, In the same way, God sent ravens to feed Elijah after he had predicted a drought and people wanted to kill him because of that. And after Elijah is fed and rested, then God says, this is what you're going to do. Go return to Damascus, anoint a new king, anoint a new prophet, because you're not the only one remaining faithful left. So go, find those other faithful ones, because there is hope. And this was a message that Elijah needed to hear because he had lost hope. He thought he was the only one left, but he wasn't. But he couldn't really grasp that when he was so tired, so hungry, so lost in the middle of all of that. Now, if you wanted a cutesy, in a nutshell summary of this text, it would be this. Elijah is so upset that he doesn't see a way forward. And God tells him, Elijah, have a nap. Here's a snack. And the world did not seem so overwhelming. So never underestimate the spiritual power of a nap and a snack. And while this is true, I mean it is, there's definitely more to the story and more complexity than just that. But more importantly, there's gospel. When things seem bleak and overwhelming, taking time to care for ourselves is powerful and life-giving. Jesus even told this to his disciples, because after weeks of them teaching and proclaiming in Jesus' name, traveling, and Jesus told them, come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest for a while. For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat, and they went away in the boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now this is our God, a God who recognizes when we need a break, when we need food and rest, and tells us, go take care of yourself. There's power in being given that permission. In a world that expects more and more of our time and ourselves, our God tells us it's okay to rest. It's okay to take care of yourself. So for all of you who need to hear that, may you hear that permission being given so that you can have the food and the rest you need to go forth and do great things in the name of God. Amen. So a couple of reflection questions for you to take with you during the week and just go deeper into the message. The first one is, what do you think of the statement, never underestimate the spiritual power of a snack and a nap? Do you believe this to be true? And the second, what do you do when you are overwhelmed with life? How can being intentional about eating and resting bring you peace?